Fear and doubt are two of the most powerful forces that can hold us back from reaching our full potential. They creep into our thoughts, filling us with uncertainty and hesitation, often paralyzing us just when we're on the edge of doing something meaningful or life-changing. For many of us, these feelings become the barriers that keep us from pursuing our dreams, taking risks, or trying something new. Instead of pushing through, we stay within the boundaries of what feels safe and familiar, ultimately limiting our growth and leaving us with questions about what could have been. But the truth is, fear and doubt will always be part of life. We can't eliminate them entirely. What we can do, however, is learn to manage these feelings so that they don't hold us back from living up to our potential. One of the most important things to understand about fear and doubt is that they are natural. These feelings exist in all of us to some degree, as they are part of the human experience. Fear often arises as a response to perceived threats, while doubt surfaces as we question our abilities or decisions. Both are protective mechanisms designed to keep us safe. But in today's world, where survival isn't typically about literal threats, these mechanisms can hold us back instead of helping us thrive. We have to recognize that fear and doubt aren't inherently negative. They are signals telling us that we're moving beyond our comfort zone. Instead of seeing these feelings as roadblocks, we can reframe them as indicators that we're on the path to growth and learning. Taking control of our response to fear and doubt starts with self-awareness. It's crucial to pay attention to our thoughts and emotions, to recognize when fear or doubt is creeping in, and to understand where these feelings are coming from. Often, fear and doubt are rooted in past experiences, insecurities, or societal expectations. By examining these roots, we can begin to dismantle the hold these feelings have on us. Self-reflection allows us to question whether our fears are based on reality or merely imagined worst-case scenarios. With this awareness, we can start to challenge our doubts, choosing to focus on facts rather than negative assumptions or unfounded anxieties. One effective way to combat fear and doubt is by taking small, consistent actions toward our goals. It's tempting to wait until we feel more confident before starting something new, but confidence often comes from doing, not waiting. When we take small steps, we gradually prove to ourselves that we are capable. Each small success builds our confidence and diminishes the power of fear and doubt. These incremental actions create a sense of momentum that helps us keep moving forward, even when we're uncertain. Small actions, taken consistently, can lead to significant progress, and with each step, fear and doubt lose a little more of their influence over us. Another powerful way to break free from the grip of fear and doubt is by focusing on our strengths and accomplishments. Too often, we fixate on our doubts arise. It's also essential to remember that failure is not something to be feared, but rather an inevitable and valuable part of any journey. Many of us fear failure so deeply that we avoid taking risks altogether, choosing safety over the potential to grow. But failure isn't the end of the road, it's a stepping stone to improvement. Each setback teaches us something, whether it's a lesson about what doesn't work, an opportunity to try a different approach, or a moment to build resilience. By embracing the possibility of failure, we take away its power to intimidate us. Instead of seeing it as something to avoid, we can view it as part of the learning process that helps us refine our approach and ultimately get closer to our goals. Surrounding ourselves with supportive people can also be incredibly effective in overcoming fear and doubt. When we're trying to tackle big goals or make changes in our lives, it's natural to feel alone or to question ourselves. But having a support network, friends, family, mentors, or like-minded individuals can make a significant difference. Supportive people can offer encouragement, remind us of our capabilities, and provide perspective when we're feeling unsure. They serve as reminders that we're not alone in our struggles and that others believe in our potential, even when we might be struggling to believe in it ourselves. Additionally, practicing a growth mindset can help us navigate the challenges posed by fear and doubt. A growth mindset is the belief that abilities and intelligence can be developed through effort, learning, and perseverance. When we adopt this mindset, we view challenges as opportunities to grow rather than threats to our self-worth. Instead of avoiding things that seem difficult or intimidating, we're more inclined to embrace them as chances to expand our capabilities. This outlook shifts our focus from seeking approval or avoiding mistakes to pursuing growth and improvement. With a growth mindset, fear and doubt become less about our perceived limitations and more about the learning journey we're on. Finally, visualization can be a powerful tool in overcoming fear and doubt. Imagining ourselves succeeding, picturing the steps we'll take, And even seeing ourselves handling setbacks can build our confidence. Visualization helps us mentally rehearse for the real thing, which can make us feel more prepared and reduce the anxiety associated with trying something new. By focusing on the positive outcomes we want to achieve, we can train our minds to anticipate success rather than worry about failure. Ultimately, overcoming fear and doubt is about developing resilience, self-awareness, and courage. It's about accepting that these feelings are a natural part of any worthwhile journey, but choosing to act in spite of them. By taking consistent action, surrounding ourselves with support, and reframing our challenges, we can prevent fear and doubt from dictating our lives. Every time we push through, we grow stronger, more confident, and more capable of handling whatever comes our way. In doing so, we unlock our true potential and move closer to the life we envision, unrestrained by the limits of fear and doubt. Living intentionally means making conscious, deliberate choices that align with our values, goals, and vision for a fulfilling life. In a world where we're constantly bombarded with demands on our time and attention, it's easy to drift through our days reacting to whatever comes our way rather than proactively choosing how we want to live. When we live without intention, we risk becoming passive participants in our own lives, moving from one task to the next without a clear sense of purpose or direction. But by living intentionally, we reclaim our power, take control of our actions, and create a life that reflects who we truly are and what we truly want. One of the foundational aspects of living intentionally is knowing our values and using them as a compass for our decisions. Values are deeply personal and reflect what matters most to us, whether it's integrity, family, creativity, or growth. When we're clear on our values, we can evaluate each choice or action through the lens of what's important to us, ensuring that our life aligns with our beliefs and priorities. For example, if one of our core values is personal growth, we might prioritize activities that challenge us intellectually or emotionally, even if they're uncomfortable or difficult. Living in alignment with our values provides a sense of authenticity and satisfaction, as we know we're not simply going through the motions or conforming to external expectations, but instead making choices that are meaningful to us. Intentional living also requires us to have a clear vision of our goals and aspirations. Without a sense of where we want to go, we can easily get sidetracked or spend our energy on things that don't truly matter. By setting goals that are aligned with our values, we create a roadmap that guides our actions and keeps us focused on what we want to achieve. These goals don't have to be grand or life-changing. They can be as simple as spending more quality time with loved ones, practicing a new skill, or improving our health. The key is to choose goals that resonate with us, that inspire us to move forward with purpose. With this clarity, each day becomes an opportunity to take small steps toward what we envision for ourselves. Another aspect of intentional living is practicing mindfulness in our daily lives. Mindfulness means being fully present and aware of our thoughts, feelings, and surroundings. When we're mindful, we're less likely to rush through our days on autopilot and more likely to appreciate the present moment. This awareness allows us to make conscious choices in real time, rather than simply reacting to habits, routines, or external pressures. For instance, when we practice mindfulness, we might notice that we're reaching for our phone out of habit rather than a genuine need, or that we're about to agree to a commitment that doesn't align with our priorities. Mindfulness helps us pause, reflect, and make intentional choices that support the life we want to create. Living intentionally also involves setting boundaries to protect our time and energy. Without clear boundaries, we can become overwhelmed by the demands of others, stretching ourselves thin and losing sight of our own goals. By setting boundaries, we're able to focus on what truly matters, rather than getting caught up in distractions or obligations that don't serve us. Boundaries can be as simple as saying no to tasks that don't align with our goals, or as complex as restructuring our schedule to prioritize self-care, relationships, or personal growth. By creating boundaries, we make space for the things that truly enrich our lives, giving us the energy and focus to pursue our aspirations with intention. An essential part of living intentionally is embracing gratitude and focusing on what we have, rather than what we lack. It's easy to get caught up in the pursuit of what we don't yet have, whether it's a certain lifestyle, material possessions, or achievements. But when we constantly chase after something else, we risk losing sight of the value in our current experiences. Gratitude helps us recognize and appreciate the beauty in the life we're currently living, which creates a sense of contentment and fulfillment. This doesn't mean we shouldn't pursue our goals, but rather that we should approach life with a mindset of abundance, seeing each step of our journey as valuable. Gratitude allows us to live intentionally by grounding us in the present and reminding us of the blessings we already have. Living intentionally also means embracing self-discipline and responsibility for our actions. Intention without action is just a wish. To truly live intentionally, we must follow through on our commitments and take responsibility for the outcomes of our choices. This involves practicing self-discipline to stay consistent in our efforts, even when motivation wanes or challenges arise. For example, if we set a goal to improve our health, intentional living requires us to make healthy choices consistently, even on the days we're tempted to give up. Taking responsibility for our actions also means acknowledging our missteps, learning from them, and making adjustments as needed. When we hold ourselves accountable, we empower ourselves to shape our lives in meaningful ways. Another crucial element of intentional living is regularly reassessing our path. Life is dynamic, and our values, goals, and circumstances can change over time. Periodic reflection allows us to evaluate whether our current actions and choices still align with our vision for the future. This reflection doesn't mean second-guessing every decision, but rather checking in with ourselves to ensure we're still on the path that feels right for us. By making adjustments when needed, we stay true to our evolving selves and remain open to new opportunities for growth and fulfillment. In life, we often convince ourselves that we need to wait for the right time to start pursuing our dreams or taking action toward our goals. We tell ourselves that when conditions are better, when we feel more prepared, or when we have fewer distractions, we'll begin. But waiting for the perfect moment can be a trap, keeping us from taking the crucial steps toward the life we truly want. The reality is that there is rarely a perfect time to start something meaningful. Life is unpredictable, and often the opportunity to make progress is right in front of us, even if it doesn't feel ideal. We imagine that future circumstances will somehow be more favorable, that we'll feel more confident or secure down the road. But the longer we put off taking action, the more we lose valuable time that could be spent making progress. Procrastination and hesitation can quickly become habits, where the idea of someday replaces today, and before we know it, months or years can go by with little to show for the dreams we held close. By waiting, we are essentially allowing fear or doubt to hold us back, letting our own insecurities dictate our choices rather than embracing the present and moving forward despite the unknowns. When we start to understand that there will never be a perfect time, we can begin to embrace the opportunities that are available to us right now. Life is inherently uncertain, and if we wait for every element to fall into place, we risk never taking any action at all. The truth is, progress rarely happens in perfect conditions. Many people who achieve their goals or make significant strides do so while facing obstacles, challenges, or less than ideal circumstances. They move forward not because the time is perfect, but because they've decided that the time they have is enough. Often, waiting for the right time is rooted in fear of failure, fear of making mistakes, or fear of the unknown. But fear is a natural part of growth. If we let it paralyze us, we may never move toward our goals. Taking the first step, even if it's small, allows us to begin confronting our fears and building resilience. Every bit of action we take, even if it feels imperfect, helps us gain confidence and overcome our doubts. There is a power in taking that leap, in trusting that we'll learn and adapt along the way, and in believing that we can handle whatever challenges arise. When we stop waiting for a perfect moment, we can start building a future based on courage rather than hesitation. Another aspect to consider is that action itself often creates the momentum we need. By taking that first step, we set a process in motion that encourages us to keep going. Momentum is powerful. It allows us to build on small accomplishments, creating a snowball effect where one action leads to another. Even if we don't have all the answers at the beginning, each step forward gives us greater clarity, helps us refine our goals, and shows us what's possible. In this way, movement itself becomes a kind of discovery, revealing new paths and opportunities that we couldn't see when we were standing still, waiting for ideal conditions. Sometimes we convince ourselves that we need to be fully prepared before we start something significant. But often, the best way to prepare is to dive in and learn as we go. Real learning and growth happen through experience, not just by planning or thinking. When we step into action, we gain insight that we could never get by waiting or imagining different scenarios. The experience of trying, adjusting, and refining our approach teaches us far more than any amount of preparation could. We become better not because we waited for readiness, but because we allowed ourselves to adapt and grow through the process. The idea of waiting for the right time also gives us a false sense of control. We believe that if we wait, we can avoid risk or guarantee a certain outcome. But life doesn't work that way. We can't control every variable, and no amount of waiting can eliminate uncertainty. By stepping forward, even when conditions are imperfect, we acknowledge that we are willing to face the unknown, that we're committed to our goals despite the risks. This acceptance of uncertainty is a powerful mindset that leads to greater resilience and personal strength. Moreover, time itself is a finite resource, and none of us know exactly how much we have. Waiting indefinitely to start pursuing a goal, whether it's a career move, a personal passion, or a relationship, is a gamble with time that we might not be able to afford. If we imagine ourselves looking back on our lives, we're more likely to regret the things we didn't try than the things we did. The missed opportunities, the paths unexplored, and the dreams left unrealized often leave a heavier weight than any failure we might experience along the way. Acting now ensures that we're at least trying, at least giving ourselves a chance to see what's possible. Finally, by refusing to wait for the right time, we set an example for others. When people see us taking action, despite challenges or imperfections, they're often inspired to do the same. Our courage can become a catalyst for those around us, encouraging them to pursue their dreams and take action in their own lives. In this way, choosing to act now not only enriches our own lives, but can have a positive ripple effect on the lives of others. So instead of waiting for ideal conditions that may never arrive, let's choose to start today. Whatever the goal or dream, the important thing is to take that first step, however small, and trust that we can handle what comes next. Each day we wait is a day we could be making progress, and each step we take brings us closer to a life lived with purpose and intention. Setting clear priorities is essential in a world filled with countless options and distractions. Every day we're faced with decisions on how to spend our time, energy, and resources. Without clear priorities, it's easy to get lost in a sea of tasks, many of which might not actually bring us closer to our goals or add meaning to our lives. Setting priorities isn't about saying yes to everything, it's about making deliberate choices to focus on what aligns with our values and long-term aspirations. When we know our priorities, we can better allocate our time and effort, ensuring that we're investing in the things that matter most. A common mistake many people make is thinking that being busy equates to being productive. But busyness and productivity are not the same thing. We can fill our days with activities, meetings, and tasks, but if they don't contribute to our core objectives, we're not truly making progress. Setting priorities means distinguishing between what is urgent and what is truly important. Urgent tasks demand our immediate attention, but they may not necessarily help us reach our long-term goals. Important tasks, on the other hand, are the ones that align with our core values and aspirations. When we focus on the important rather than just the urgent, we build a life that's aligned with our purpose, rather than one constantly reacting to outside demands. One way to set clear priorities is to take the time to reflect on what genuinely matters to us. This process requires self-awareness and honesty. It means asking ourselves what we truly want to achieve, what brings us fulfillment, and what aligns with our values. These answers form the foundation of our priorities. Once we're clear on what matters, we can evaluate each task, opportunity, and commitment based on whether it serves those values and goals. This approach not only keeps us focused, but it also gives us a sense of direction, making it easier to say no to things that don't serve our ultimate purpose. When we don't set priorities, we risk becoming overwhelmed and stretched too thin. Life is full of obligations and external pressures, and without a clear sense of what's important to us, we can easily fall into the habit of saying yes to everything. However, saying yes to everything often means we're saying no to the things that matter most. Prioritizing is about understanding that our time and energy are limited and that we have to make choices. By setting boundaries and learning to say no, we free up space for what truly matters, whether that's personal growth, time with loved ones, or working toward our dreams. Clear priorities also help us manage stress and improve our mental well-being. When we're trying to juggle everything, we can feel like we're constantly playing catch-up, which leads to stress and burnout. But when we focus on our top priorities, we're able to direct our energy in a more manageable way. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by a never-ending to-do list, we can focus on a few key areas each day. This approach brings a sense of accomplishment, as we know we're making real progress on the things that matter. When we're aligned with our priorities, we're more likely to feel motivated and fulfilled, as each task we complete contributes meaningfully to our lives. In addition, setting priorities helps us cultivate a sense of balance. It's easy to devote ourselves entirely to one area of life, like work, and neglect other important areas, such as family, health, or personal development. However, life is multifaceted, and a fulfilling life usually requires attention to multiple domains. By setting priorities, we can ensure that we're not neglecting one part of our life in favor of another. This balance is essential for overall well-being and helps us avoid the regret that often comes from neglecting important aspects of our lives. A key part of setting priorities is regularly reassessing them. Our goals, values, and circumstances can change over time, so our priorities may need to be adjusted accordingly. Periodic reflection allows us to evaluate whether our current priorities are still aligned with who we are and where we want to go. Life is dynamic, and by being willing to adjust our priorities, we stay responsive to change without losing sight of our long-term aspirations. Reassessing priorities also gives us a chance to celebrate progress and make adjustments if we're off track. It's a way to ensure that we're always moving in a direction that feels meaningful. Another benefit of having clear priorities is that it helps us make quicker and more confident decisions. When we know what's most important to us, decision-making becomes easier as we can immediately see whether an option aligns with our priorities or not. We waste less time deliberating over choices, and we're less likely to second-guess our decisions. This clarity not only saves time but also reduces mental fatigue, allowing us to channel our energy into the actions that align with our priorities. Setting priorities also has a positive impact on the quality of our work and relationships. When we prioritize effectively, we're able to give our full attention to each task or interaction. This focus improves the quality of our efforts, as we're not constantly distracted or rushing from one thing to the next. In relationships, this means being fully present with the people we care about rather than distracted by other obligations. In work, it means producing our best work because we're focused and committed. By concentrating on our priorities, we cultivate depth and quality in every area of our lives. Ultimately, setting clear priorities empowers us to live with intention and purpose. Instead of drifting through life, reacting to demands and circumstances, we take control of our journey. Our actions are guided by our own values and goals, allowing us to build a life that's uniquely fulfilling. Priorities remind us of what's most important, keeping us grounded and focused even in a busy and complex world. With priorities as our compass, we can navigate life's demands with clarity and resilience, ensuring that we're consistently working toward a life that aligns with our truest self. Time is the most precious asset we possess, yet it's something many of us take for granted. Once a moment has passed, it's gone forever. No amount of money, power, or influence can buy it back. And unlike material resources, time doesn't come with a guarantee. That makes it a resource we should value above all else. But how often do we let time slip away without thinking about its worth? We find ourselves wrapped up in distractions, responsibilities that don't serve us, and habits that waste our potential. The challenge, then, is to recognize the importance of every single moment and make sure we're not spending it on things that ultimately don't matter. In our everyday lives, we're bombarded with countless distractions. Social media, endless scrolling, and constant notifications pull our attention away from what we could be focusing on. We may convince ourselves that these small distractions aren't a big deal or that they don't add up. But if you consider just how much time goes to checking a phone, getting pulled into unnecessary debates, or procrastinating on things that need to be done, the amount of lost time becomes significant. Distractions might seem harmless in the short term, but over time they accumulate, stealing hours, days, and eventually years from our lives. If we are not mindful, we may look back and wonder where all the time went, realizing too late that we were caught up in minor things that added little or no value to our lives. So where should our focus be instead? It's about honing in on what truly matters. For each of us, that may mean something different. For some, it's career growth or creative pursuits. For others, it's deepening relationships, nurturing personal health, or giving back to the community. Whatever it is, our priorities define us, and we owe it to ourselves to spend time in alignment with those values. Each decision we make about how to spend our time reflects what we find meaningful. And when we choose to focus on things that are in line with our goals and values, we begin to build a life that is fulfilling and worthwhile. We often fall into the trap of waiting for the right time to pursue something that feels daunting. Whether it's a career change, a major life decision, or a personal goal, the belief that someday in the future will be more ideal can be a dangerous one. When we continuously put off our goals, we rob ourselves of the chance to take steps toward them now. The truth is, there is rarely a perfect time to start something meaningful. Life doesn't wait for us to be ready. Opportunities don't come wrapped up with a convenient bow. If we're always waiting, time moves on without us. Instead, we have to take action now, realizing that every moment we hesitate is a moment lost. Setting clear priorities is one of the most important ways we can make sure we're not wasting our time. We all have the same 24 hours in a day, but how we choose to use them is up to us. Prioritization helps us make conscious choices that support our goals rather than allowing ourselves to be pulled in every direction. When we set priorities, we have to ask ourselves hard questions. What truly matters to me? What am I willing to let go of so that I can focus on what's important? Once we have those answers, it's easier to make decisions that protect our time and ensure that we're investing it wisely. Fear and self-doubt are some of the greatest barriers to spending our time effectively. Many people avoid stepping out of their comfort zones because they're afraid of failure, rejection, or uncertainty. But living in fear of what could go wrong only limits our potential. If we let doubt hold us back, we risk living small, playing it safe, and never discovering the full extent of our capabilities. It takes courage to confront fear and push beyond it, but the reward is a life that's rich with growth, new experiences, and a sense of purpose. Embracing confidence in ourselves and our potential is essential if we want to make the most of our time. Living intentionally is about committing ourselves to the things we value most. When we're intentional with our time, we don't allow distractions, fear, or uncertainty to control our lives. Instead, we wake up each day with a purpose, knowing what we want to achieve and working toward it with focus. This mindset shift doesn't mean we have to work all the time or avoid relaxation. It means making choices that reflect our values, making time for what fulfills us, and understanding that life is short, so we need to live fully. When we look back on our lives, we'll remember the moments when we were engaged, focused, and driven by purpose. We won't remember the hours we spent worrying about things beyond our control or the days we spent wishing we'd started sooner. By choosing to value our time, we can avoid the regret that comes from wasted opportunities. We may not be able to control every moment of our lives, but we can control how we respond to the time we're given. And when we choose to make every moment count, we give ourselves the best possible chance at a fulfilling, meaningful life. In a world full of distractions, it's easy to get caught up in things that don't truly matter. We live in an age where information is constantly being thrown at us, and with so many demands on our time and attention, it's easy to lose sight of what's really important. Often we find ourselves spread thin, pouring energy into things that ultimately don't contribute to our growth or happiness. This is why it's crucial to focus on what truly matters in life, to prioritize the people, passions, and goals that align with our values and bring us genuine fulfillment. Focusing on what truly matters begins with identifying our core values and understanding our personal goals. Too often, we make choices based on what others expect of us, or because we feel pressure to follow certain trends or paths. But this often leads to a sense of dissatisfaction, because we're not acting in alignment with our true selves. When we take the time to get clear about our values and define what success, happiness, or fulfillment looks like on our own terms, we gain the ability to make more intentional decisions. These decisions help us focus our time and energy on the things that bring us closer to our goals and bring meaning to our lives. However, focusing on what matters isn't always easy. Life is full of distractions, from the constant notifications on our phones to the endless stream of content online. Each day, we're bombarded with opportunities to shift our attention, and without a clear sense of direction, it's easy to fall into the trap of doing things that are convenient rather than meaningful. This is why self-discipline and boundaries are essential. By setting boundaries, we protect our time and energy, ensuring that we're not constantly pulled off course. It's about saying no to what doesn't serve us, so we have more time to say yes to what does. Another crucial aspect of focusing on what truly matters is learning to differentiate between what's urgent and what's important. In today's fast-paced world, we often prioritize things that demand our immediate attention, like responding to emails or handling minor tasks, without realizing that these actions might not contribute to our long-term goals. Urgent tasks may need to be handled, but we must be careful not to let them consume all our time. Important tasks, on the other hand, are those that move us toward our goals and help us grow as individuals. By focusing on the important tasks, we make steady progress toward what truly matters, even if these actions don't always bring instant gratification. Sometimes we get so wrapped up in the idea of staying busy that we mistake activity for productivity. We might feel accomplished simply because we filled our day with tasks, but if those tasks don't align with our larger goals, then our busy day was ultimately unfulfilling. To focus on what matters, we must learn to let go of activities that don't contribute to our purpose. This might mean cutting back on social obligations that don't bring joy, reducing the time spent on trivial activities, or even reassessing projects that no longer align with our current priorities. It can be challenging to let go of things, especially if they once seemed important, but by doing so, we create room for what truly matters. Focusing on what truly matters also requires that we pay attention to the relationships we build and the people we surround ourselves with. Human connections play a huge role in our happiness and well-being, yet we often overlook this as we become consumed with work or other pursuits. Prioritizing meaningful relationships with family, friends, and mentors can be incredibly fulfilling, as these are the people who support us, challenge us, and add depth to our lives. It's easy to get sidetracked by superficial interactions, but when we invest our time and energy in genuine connections, we create a support system that helps us stay focused on what matters. Another essential part of focusing on what truly matters is understanding that life is short and time is finite. We don't have endless days to accomplish our goals or pursue our passions. Recognizing the limits of time can create a sense of urgency that motivates us to prioritize wisely. This awareness pushes us to ask ourselves what we want to be remembered for and what kind of legacy we want to leave behind. It reminds us that we shouldn't waste our days on things that don't serve our larger purpose. Moreover, focusing on what truly matters helps us build resilience. When we're clear about our purpose, we're better equipped to handle setbacks and challenges because we know our struggles are part of a larger journey. We can face difficulties with a sense of determination, knowing that we're working towards something meaningful. When we encounter obstacles, we're less likely to be discouraged because we see them as stepping stones on the path to achieving our goals. Finally, focusing on what matters allows us to live a life of intention and fulfillment. When we align our actions with our values, we experience a deeper sense of satisfaction and joy. We know that our time and efforts are being spent wisely, and this gives us a profound sense of purpose. Life becomes more than just a series of days. It becomes a journey towards something meaningful, a process of growth, and a source of joy. Ultimately, by focusing on what truly matters, we give ourselves the best chance at a life that feels whole, a life that isn't weighed down by regrets or missed opportunities. This focus allows us to make the most of the precious time we have, investing it in the people, goals, and experiences that align with our deepest values.